Beneath volcanic rubble in Pompeii, archaeologists uncover hidden mysterious enchanted shrine. The perfectly preserved ancient shrine, frozen in time, in volcanic ash for 2,000 years, is found in the ruined city of Pompeii. Whilst in the middle of work within the ruins of ancient Pompeii, archaeologists happened upon a new discovery. This Italian region is specifically known within archaeological circles for many of the unique findings that it has produced over the years. But some experts have lauded this particular find, first reported back in October 2018, as being notably special. Even before this discovery, Pompeii had already gained a reputation for its ability to paint a vivid picture of life in ancient Rome. Numerous artifacts have been excavated from the site over the decades, not to mention the remains of human beings, and instances of graffiti have served to illustrate the everyday language once spoken by the city's inhabitants. What's more, archaeological works continue at Pompeii despite it having first been discovered over 250 years ago. That's because there are many other sections of the ruins that have yet to be properly scrutinized, so the find announced in October 2018 will be far from the last. The altar space was perfectly preserved in volcanic ash following the devastating eruption of Mount Vesuvius, which laid waste to the city and killed 16,000 people. In the year 79 AD, disaster struck. Mount Vesuvius violently erupted, lethal gases, ash and lava were ejected high into the sky, supposedly peaking at around 21 vertical miles. An unthinkably large amount of thermal energy was released during the eruption, apparently 100,000 times stronger than a nuclear bomb dropped on Hiroshima, Japan in 1945. As this cloud cooled down, ash and volcanic rock fell towards the ground, covering Pompeii and other settlements nearby. It supposedly became a challenge to breathe in the air, and even buildings started to fall down. Then, something known as a pyroclastic surge came down from the mountain, wiping out all life it came across. A pyroclastic surge is a combination of hot rock and gas rushing outward in the wake of a volcanic eruption. In the case of the disaster at Mount Vesuvius, the surge that travelled down the mountain apparently immediately killed anyone within a 6-mile vicinity of it, and by the end of the surge, Pompeii was completely enveloped in volcanic material. After Pompeii had been buried, a number of people returned in order to retrieve anything of value, but in the centuries that followed, the town was completely forgotten about, excluding a few minor discoveries that never amounted to much. Pompeii actually lay in complete obscurity until the mid-18th century. Photos of the site showed deep blood-red walls and paintings of bulls, as well as enchanted garden scenes of delicate birds, trees and snakes. Archaeologists describe the shrine, known as Lararium, as exceptional, and are now excavating the ruins to uncover more about the people who used it. In ancient Roman times, Lararia were altar spaces at the entrances of homes of the well-to-do, where offerings and prayers were made to the gods. Massimo Asana, head of the Pompeii archaeological site, described the discovery as a marvellous and enigmatic room that now must be studied at length. The room, which has not yet been fully excavated, is embedded in the wall of a small house and features paintings of Roman gods, key to household rituals. Paintings of animals in an enchanted garden scene are typical of Roman illusionistic style, with a peacock drawn along the bottom of a wall to give the appearance that it was walking in the real garden. One wall painting depicts a man with the head of the dog, which experts suggest could be a Romanized version of the Egyptian god Anubis. Shrines were common to Roman households. Professor Ingrid Rowland, a historian at the University of Notre Dame, told the New York Times, "Every house had a lararium of some kind, but only the wealthiest people could have afforded a lararium inside a special chamber with a raised pool and sumptuous decorations," she said. Beneath the shrine is an altar topped with traces of offerings burnt at this site almost 2,000 years ago. The altar is decorated with paintings of eggs, a Roman symbol of fertility, and it is possible the burnt remains were food offerings that also represented fertility, such as figs, nuts, or more eggs, Mr. Asana said. He added that the site was exceptional, citing not only the incredible decoration of the wall painting, but also the fact that it was very well preserved. The paintings scattered across the site were preserved in that volcanic ash following the infamous eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Thick layers of rock and ash spewed during the 2-day event must have almost blocked sunlight and water from reaching these artifacts below for almost 2 millennia. It is thought that every Pompeii resident died immediately when the town was hit by that 500 degrees C pyroclastic hot surge, with many of the corpses preserved in haunch positions exactly as they died. The first excavations of the city began in the 18th century, with many artifacts destroyed or forgotten thanks to clumsy early archaeological practice. This is in part what makes the latest discovery, which has remained untouched since the day of the eruption, an exceptional find, Mr. Asana said. I have actually visited Pompeii, and it's a beautiful place to see. And remember, Pompeii was once an entire maritime city, and the current site is vast, 44 hectares that have been excavated, but not all are accessible. Unfortunately, the beautiful site isn't managed so well. There are often areas cordoned off with little explanation and rather poor signage. Your itinerary must be well planned if you visit Pompeii, or hopefully you can visit with a tour guide, so you don't need to worry as much. If not, plan ahead and go prepared to ensure you have a successful trip. You can go back in time by walking through the preserved streets of the city, by far the best way to view Pompeii. Though you could spend an entire day touring the site, like I did. The average time needed once inside is about 2 to 3 hours. Like most Roman-built cities, Pompeii is well organized with a clear street plan, but the modern-day signposts are often wrong, though technically the information booth should have maps. You'll have to specifically ask for one and hope that it's been updated. Better to come ahead with a current map. Touring Pompeii is not difficult, but in order not to waste time or bake unnecessarily under the Neapolitan sun, those travelling solo might want to consider bringing a guidebook as well.